So the first thing we'll do to start our automation process is that we will add the node inside of the scene that the user will be able to select in order to make all the modification to the graph. So what I'll do is I'll go into the stack here and I'll create just a circle. I'm going to place it so that it's visible at frame 0, because when we're going to open the file, it's going to be at frame 0. So I'm going to try to make it as close as possible to the camera so that it's quickly visible for the user. I'm going to add a text object into it. Again, it's it's kind of big, so I'm going to call that edit. So I'm just going to name it edit, and we can scale it down and place it at the center. And to do that, what I'll do is I'll just go into a regular perspective mode so that we can place it at the center, and place it like this, and maybe minimize it. I can use a lowercase e. It's going to fit a bit better. Minimize this. Place it at the center. I could use the align tool as well. But now we've got the two. I can convert that to an editable spline and attach the text so that it's a single object. And when it's a single object, it's an editable spline. At the top of the editable spline, there's the rendering tool. I'm going to make sure that enable renderer is off. I can enable it in the viewport to give it a bit of thickness. So now what we have is our node for editing. I can give it a color. So when you build multiple templates, you can decide that your color or your standard color is yellow or blue or whatever. So it's easy to pick up in your scene, and it's a constant color from one scene to the other. So that's going to be this one here. If I go back to my camera view, I make sure that it's visible. If I want to, I could turn it toward the camera, but right now I'm just going to leave it flat on the ground. But that's something, it's up to you. It's up to your choice. It's just a node that is quickly accessible and visible in your scene. But if I render this, you'll see that it's not visible at render time. So we're good with that. We don't want to see the interface for the editable spline. We just want to have an empty interface to start with. For that, we have a modifier called the attribute holder, and the attribute holder is just an empty modifier. And to that modifier, we're going to start to add parameters. So there's a few values that we want to add. So we want to be able to edit the 4 values of the bar. So we have three values to enter. We also want to be able to 4 values, and also we want to have 4 colors. 4 different colors for the bars. We need to create that, and we want to also be able to change the text for the y-axis and the x-axis. Actually, you know what? Since we have, I'm going to give it to 3 so that because it's kind of redundant to do it multiple times. So I'm going to leave it to 3 bars, and we're going to rename this bar 3, and it's going to be much easier to work with 3, because you'll see that after 1 or 2 bars, it's going to be redundant to do it again and again. So it's going to simplify the tutorial. So leave it to let's leave it to 3 bars, and we're going to change a few things. If I grab this, right now the interface is empty, so we can start to build our interface. For that, I'm going to go into the animation menu. There's a tool here called the parameter editor. Open it up, and it allows me to put my own attributes in here. It doesn't connect it to anything in the scene. It just creates the interface. So that's the first thing we're going to do here. So we want to add 3 values. I'm going to create a float, which is already there. I'm going to call that value 1. And as soon as I press enter, you'll see that at the bottom here we have a preview of what it's going to look like. I can leave the width to what it is. I can align it to the right or to the left or whatever. So I'm going to align it to the right now, and that's going to be my first floater, so first value. I'm going to add that, and you see that it's adding value 0, 1. I'm going to call this one here value 2, and make it to the right. We're going to leave the default, so that's good, value 2. And here we're going to say value 3 and add, and now we have our 3 values inside of our custom attribute editor. I want to also be able to change the color. So in the UI type, or the parameter type, sorry, we can pick a color. Automatically it's going to change to a color picker. So we can put that color picker to the right as well. We're going to define it to the right, and I'm going to give it a name. So it's going to say color 1, add that. Color 2, I need to learn how to type without watching my keyboard. And color 3, and add. So we have our 3 colors, and that's good. The last 2 things that we want to do, add the text, x-axis and y-axis text. So we're going to change our parameter type. We're going to go here and we say string, edit text. That's the only UI type we have. So I'm going to say x-axis, Again, I'm going to align it to the right so that it kind of aligns with the rest. I can make the width a bit longer, so maybe 170, and we'll have a bit more text to a bit more space to play with. I'll say add. It's a bit too long, but we'll see how we can change that. And I'm going to go add the y-axis, and I'm going to leave it to 150 for this one. I think it was a good value, so 150. And add, and now we have our y-axis. I can also, if I want to make it a bit smaller, maybe 140. Actually, it's already, I need to go into the edit. So if I go into the edit here, I'm just going to grab the x-axis, say 140, apply changes. That's much better. Y-axis, do the same thing here, 140, and apply changes, and we're good. So when we are adding those, when we add those parameters, once they're added, if you want to change them, you need to open the edit and edit attributes and parameters, and you need to select the component or the attribute that you want to edit and update it after. So that's just a quick parenthesis. So we've built our basic interface for the attribute older, the value 1, 2, and 3. We're going to see how we can adjust the values that are here. The color 1, 2, and 3, we're going to adjust that as well. And the x-axis is going to be, we're going to do that in the end. But the easiest thing that we can connect is the color. So we're going to do that now. If I want to connect the color here to the color of this one, of this first bar, what I can do is I can grab the bar itself, right click and say wire parameter. I want to grab the materials diffuse color, and I want to connect that or wire it to this object here, modify object, attribute older, custom attribute, and I want to grab color 1, and it's going to immediately allow me to do that. So what I want to do is the box 1, the diffuse color. That's what I want to, I'm going to point in that direction. That's the equation or the relation that I want to build, and I'll say connect, and now we have our connection. I can do the same thing for the second one. Right click, say wire parameter. I'm going to grab the diffuse color and grab this guy here, modified object, attribute older, custom attribute, and grab color 3. And now we can say on this side here, that's box 1, the default, that's the one that's the side that we want to connect. Here we go. And I'm going to right click here, say wire parameters, default, diffuse color, grab this one, and attribute older, custom attribute, and color 3. So as I said, it's quite redundant. It's the same operation 3 times. So that's why I reduced it to 3 rather than 4. So now we have our connected colors. And if I go and grab my control object here, I can change the color, let's say to whatever color we have here. Let's say a blue one. And the color here, we're going to change it to, I don't know, red. So here we go. We are able to change our colors. If we want to save in a generic color format, I can go back here and say reduce the saturation here to something like this. Maybe a value of 100. So now it's gray. I can right click and copy and paste to this one. Now the 3 colors are kind of flat gray. We know that we need to change them. If we change them, we want to change them to a specific look for our scene, and it's a good way to save in that status or generic status when we load the template. So I'm going to save this here, and now we have our new scene. So I'm going to rename this bar 3. So file, save as, bar 3, and I'm just going to delete the other max scene called bar 4. And in the next section, we'll see how we can adjust the height based on the value that we've got here.